pressure wash, rinse, repeat. I can pull everything out. The tub can be pressure washed. The panels can be pressure washed. All of the setup with the marine foam can be pressure washed. I want easy, I want simple. I don't want to have to vacuum every last grain of sand. Jordan here from Cork Coasting. Welcome to another episode of the Canopy Setup Guide. This one is called 3-Piece Puzzle, and it is basically a rundown of how we made a completely removable setup. Now, this roughly takes me, I'd say, about 10 minutes to pull apart and go back to an empty tub. So it is a relatively quick process to ensuring that I can go from full touring to an empty tub as easily as possible. The last thing I want to be doing is spending 2 days cleaning up. The whole idea with this is it's pressure wash, rinse, repeat. I can pull everything out. The tub can be pressure washed. The panels can be pressure washed. All of the setup with the marine foam can be pressure washed. I want easy, I want simple. I don't want to have to vacuum every last grain of sand. I don't want water pooling inside of a tray canopy and then starting to rust. I want none of that. The best part about having a removable setup, in my opinion, is that it doesn't need to be that much more complicated than a completely fixed setup. Like a setup you would typically see that never comes out. There's only a few extra steps that we can employ to make it removable. That does add a little bit of time and cost, but I think it's well worth it because you've got this setup that is completely modular and allows you to have an empty tub again whenever you really like. Now, when it comes to deciding if you should go removable or fixed, I think you should start with one question, and that is, how frequently do I need an empty tub versus how frequently do I just need my setup? And I think that sort of starts putting you in the right direction for, well, is a removable setup necessary, or can you get away with, say, a fixed or maybe even a hybrid setup? Now, there are a few benefits and limitations to all three setups, and they are also, I guess, dependent on your lifestyle. A fixed setup has everything mounted in one place. So this is great because it means it goes in nice and easy. But comparatively to a removable setup, it is a lot more trickier to get out because you probably need to cut wires or remove fixings that sort of you probably don't want to remove too often. A removable setup is basically a setup that will take a little bit longer to put in. You've got to put more wiring plugs in. You need to have sections, so you've got a bit more chopping to do. You can't just mount things directly to your tub. But it does mean that if you do remove it, well, you've got sections that come out a lot easier, and you can go to an empty tub a lot more frequently and with a little bit more ease than it would be compared to a fixed setup. Now, the other thing with it is you can take a lot of the things from this setup to another setup because they come out easily and you might not have to destroy wiring and whatnot from one setup to the next setup. The other style of setup is a hybrid. Now, this is where certain sections stay in there permanently and other things come out maybe a little bit more frequently than in a fixed setup. So for example, this setup behind me, I can put it into a hybrid by having the electrical and water permanently fixed in there, and then the fridge and drawers will come out as I need, which gives me that extra space, say if I was needing a bit more tub space and working and not needing such a big fridge and the full pantry and setup like that. So there are a few benefits, there are a few limitations. It just depends on your lifestyle and how frequently you need to go from empty tub to full setup. Now, with all that being said, I like to break this process down into 4 main steps. So these 4 steps will basically help me identify what layout is the best, as well as then breaking down how I can set up this layout with my different products. So my fridge, water tanks, my electrical, and then working out how to, I guess, locate them, lay them out, and then get into making this a completely removable setup. So let's get started with step 1, and this is basically laying out our gear to try and find each section. So what I'm trying to do is create a base, and that base is what comes out of the tub in one piece. So when I'm creating a removable setup, I want to be able to remove that section, and then suddenly all those things were on that section. So for example, behind me, I've got my fridge and my drawer. That's one section. I take my fridge off, and then my fridge slide and drawer, they come out as one piece. Behind that, I have my water tanks and battery. That's another section. Then I've got my electrical setup. That's a third section. All of these are bases that are forming on my layout plan, which help me then break them down into sections. If you check out the link below as well, there is the vehicle layout designer. Now, this is a game changer in getting your setup sorted because you can drag and drop all these products from the Australian market in a bunch of different utes, wagons, there's even tray canopies in there, and it has all the details you need, all your sizes, your payload, the products, links to the products. It's got everything you need. So it's basically a one-stop shop. You can get it all planned out and laid out. Once I've got my section sorted out, I then finish off the setup with false floor pieces or my wing panels. So my wing panels will then go around there, as you can see, sort of around here and behind me. They will finish off the setup and create a flat space above the wheel arches, and it gives me this, I guess, new false floor height, which I can start storing things on, and it makes storage a lot more easier because I do have this flat area to work with. One big thing to keep in mind with your section sizing is weight. I originally had my fridge, pantry, and water tanks battery as one big section, and I quickly worked out that I would only be able to really remove that with a forklift or a 4-person lift, which I wanted to really avoid. I want to be able to do this solo, and I want it to be easy. So I know if it's too heavy, it's just going to become a headache, and I'm going to say, nah, it's just staying in there, and then it becomes a permanent setup, which I didn't want to have. I ended up splitting the battery, water tanks, and then fridge, pantry sections, and that made them a lot more manageable because, while I can remove them on my own, they're still a little bit big. They're not too bad in the awkward department, but definitely manageable. And I tore my ACL midway through last year, and I was still able to pull it out sort of 2 or 3 weeks after my op. So if you can sort of do it with a recovering ACL injury, I think it's definitely possible to do for many people. And I think that's the beauty of this, is it's not designed to have machinery to help you. It's designed to be manageable by most people. Now, if you're keen for the rest of the steps, check out the link below. It's a killer resource. It's got all of the steps, the videos, write-ups, ebooks, which works out well because right now we've got a bunch of public holidays, long weekends, and then ultimately summer coming up. So you can be pretty much sorted between now and the end of the year. So yeah, check it out, see what you think. There's a bunch of good shit, and hopefully we can catch you out there. So that pretty much wraps us up for 3-piece puzzle and a removable setup. Having a removable setup doesn't need to be a pain in the ass. I think it's a process that can save you a lot of time in the future with the right planning now. So consider your lifestyle, work out exactly what you need from your setup, and then yeah, you'll see how much time you can save with putting it together from empty tub to full touring mode. And I think that time saving alone is well worth the time spent doing it now. So I mean, who doesn't want more time on the road? But anyways, that's it from me. Hopefully that all makes sense, and I will catch you out there.